We are so happy to be joined this morning by our dear friend, Charlie Gibson. He is bringing us a special interview he did with his good friend, Pat Conroy, best-selling and beloved author, stop staring at me, The Great Santini, The Lords of Discipline, and The Prince of Tides. And Pat's got a brand new book out. This one is a memoir. It is called The Death of Santini, and it is quite a read. You've been talking about this for some time, Charlie.
I never get tired of looking at you, Robin. I pardon for the lack of voice. I have a cold. Pat's a beautiful writer. This is a nonfiction book, and it is about the death of his dad, but it's about a very dysfunctional family, terrible family. He says his father, in all his years, never made him laugh. Can you imagine saying anything so difficult about a dad? Beat his mom, beat the kids, but there was a reconciliation at the end that makes it, in the end, a very hopeful story. I've been writing the story of my own life for over 40 years. Pat Conroy begins his newest book, a memoir called The Death of Santini. It's an unflinching look at Conroy's troubled family. But he has, of course, been writing anguished, fictionalized versions of his life for his entire career.
This whole thing about this fixation with family, and my family in particular, may be my great weakness as a writer.
Or your great strength.
Or my great strength.
In what may be Conroy's most surprising plot twist, the book ends up being an interesting sort of love letter to his once abusive father, the Marine fighter pilot made famous in the book and movie The Great Santini. I can't remember a house I lived in as a child where he did not beat my mother, or me, or my brothers.
There wasn't one.
Well, it's been a constant theme in your writing.
I haven't written about many happy families.
I've been a fan, friend, and interviewer of Pat Conroy for more than a quarter of a century.
When Pat Conroy writes, all Americans listen.
That was our first GMA interview. There would be 7 in total. I had a chance to talk to your dad when we were down in South Carolina when we were talking about an earlier book that you wrote.
Colonel, you keep showing up in Pat's books.
Well, actually, he's written so much about this family that I think that we're being overexposed.
And he acknowledged a lot of what you have written. But then he said, you got to understand Pat.
Pat will always be the hero.
And the father will always be the...
he's the heavy.
Very good. Let's see.
Is that fair?
He used that on me 1,000 times. And I think that's pretty good literary criticism.
It was, ironically, the Great Santini that marked the changing point in the relationship between father and son.
The book he hated, but my father really got into the movie. My father died thinking he made the career of Robert Duvall. He said finally Duvall had a role with some meat on it.
After the movie's release, a warming of sorts took place. Conroy writes now that his father had the best second act I ever saw.
Dad was wordless. He never told me he loved me in his life. He died without telling me that. But there was something in his gestures that was letting me know that he was making some attempt.
As a reason for writing this book, you write, Mom and Dad, I've got to try to make sense of it one last time. And then I'll be finished with you, Mom and Dad. I must examine the wreckage one last time. Can you really put it down?
You know, I think I can, Charlie, but I may be lying.
So in the end, is it a hopeful story, given what you and your dad went through in his second act?
You know, to me it is an amazing story, Charlie. It seems that Mom and Dad, for whatever reason, created something of an amazing American family. And so the story seems like a good one to me.
Amazing story, you know, but 7 siblings. 4 or 5 of them tried to commit suicide before they were 40. The family was so scarred, but out of that came a reconciliation. It's extraordinary.
It's a beautiful story and very special that you brought it to us.
Good book.
Very special that it was you. And we didn't even have to bribe you with breakfast this time to come back and be with us in the studio.
Didn't get paid much either.
Charlie, you got a home here anytime. The Death of Santini is out today.